Yo, we just changed the game with this one. Introducing AG number 2, the newest groundbreaking artificial intelligence software in the game. We got things like AI text generator, AI image generator, AI code generator, AI chat box, AI text to speech, and voiceover capabilities. Yes, it does coding. Yes, it does images. It literally does everything. Make sure you click the link at the top line of the description box. If you're a content creator, if you're an artist, if you're just a regular person that want to take your life to the next level, trust me, click that link at the top
I
line.
heard you telling the story, on the video I was watching about, your uncle teaching you how to mix. So talk
Yeah.
about, your first introduction to hip hop in Boston.
Well, actually, it was in New York. Like
Yo, okay.
my father was born in New York, in Brooklyn. My grandfather was in lived in the Bronx, and my grandmother was in Flatbush. So really, all my family was in New York. So my mom was in Boston when my father met my mother. So I was born in Boston, of course, but I spent almost half the year in New York, growing up. So I was at my grandfather's house when I stayed. I either stayed in Brooklyn or the Bronx. So my grandfather stayed like 2 blocks over from where Kool Herc, Cedric Avenue, where kind of they say the birthplace of hip hop. And
Mhm.
and my grandfather stayed on Cedar Ave, right down the street from Fordham Road, like so far where Jimmy's used to be there. And I remember when it was just like a car parking lot before Jimmy's. So this was like in the 70s. So my uncle Eddie was like only a year or two older than me. Like my grandfather was still, having babies older as an older guy. And and Eddie stayed in the basement. My grandfather had a house, so Eddie kind of like stayed in the basement. In the basement, he had 2 turntables, Bruce Lee posters, a CB radio, because back then CB radios was like in and shit.
Right.
Um, and I remember my dad was in the feds and he had made me a belt, you all, what I'm saying, like when you're in the feds, especially back then, dudes don't do it no more. But I remember back in the days, everybody was getting leather. Like if you was in the feds back in the days, you would send your family home purses or leather belts, because you was in arts and crafts or whatever. But
Okay.
they don't do that no more, I noticed. So I had a belt because I was on the CB. My uncle taught me the CB radio, so I was the Phantom. I remember that. And then he taught me how to mix. And he had two records. It was I think Cheryl Lynn, To Be Real. It was three really. Apache, the original Apache, like the joint that Nas rapped over. They shooting made you look. That's called Apache. And then I remember Sugar Hill, the Sugar Hill Gang had did that over. But it was the original Apache by the Amazing Bongo Brothers, and there was another song called Sets. Like these are old New York staples as far as in the 70s. So I would learn how to cut and scratch, man. And then after that, man, I just fell in love with hip hop, man.
Where now, Edward the Jesus, that's your uncle, right?
Eddie, yep, Eddie, yep.
Talk about his
Shout.
influence on you and what kind of boss was he back in the day?
I mean, Eddie was, what I'm saying, was really like, like he had a group called Three the Hard Way, a rap group, and he had the yellow sweatshirts with the felt letters on them, Three the Hard Way. Like, this is all coming back to me as I'm speaking. It's dope because, compared to now, that just was a whole different time. There wasn't no computers, no cell phones. Everything was outside. You know what I'm saying? The culture wasn't in, looking at shit on the computer. It was actually outside the world. So, man, he would take me, what I'm saying? We'd be going on different blocks, man. I was like 10, 11 years old. You know what I'm saying? But he's a great guy. Eddie was raised right because my grandfather was a hardworking man. He used to make needles. He used to convert diamonds into needles for record players. So he had the house, but then he had a garage next to it. And in the garage was all these machines to cut diamonds into, like, to make them into needles. So, like, my grandfather worked hard, man, My dad now, my dad ended up being a gangster. You know what I'm saying? So my dad really ended up in Boston just because he was doing this thing. And, he was, like my dad came up with like the mafia, in Boston, and a lot of big guys back when know my dad. My dad did a lot of Fed time, and but he really is probably the biggest influence on me, because I learned a lot of my moral code and who I am from him. What I'm saying, at an early age. You know what I'm saying? My dad had a bunch of kids, but I think at that time, I was just the right age and the right mindset to kind of like, how can I say it? Like, get in the streets for him. You know what I'm saying? So I started from an early age doing things for my father. I met a lot of like, big time, mob guys. You know what I'm saying? If you watch the movie The Departed, they talk about Whitey Bulger. So yeah, so my dad had runs in, my dad had run in with Whitey, but the guys that Whitey told on, the Angelos,
Right.
they was like the mob bosses. So my dad was real, tied in with them, and I got to meet them and everything. Anytime my guys would go to the feds, or knock on wood, if I had got time, I would go in and check in with them, and they, they always take care of my guys. These are older men too. We're talking, they was in their 60s, 70s, and they was like, running shit in Boston as far as the mob goes. So, my dad was locked up. I had to go to funerals. If somebody died and sign his name, I was passing messages. My mother would take me to the different Fed joints, and I'm passing messages, taking little notes that he'd give me, shovel, and then, said, go to the, go see the, like they all knew me. They all knew me as, Tito's son, Ray Ray, That I wasn't Benzino back then, but a lot of my who I am comes from my father.
Go ahead. Let me ask you this real quick, because we always see and hear the sports rivalry between Boston and New York and stuff, and the Red Sox and the Yankees and that kind of shit. Yeah. Was there ever a real beef between like Boston and New York itself?
I mean, not necessarily with the black community, but with the white community, hell yeah, them Irish, them Italians, just like same thing in the Bronx, man. They don't play that shit about, they love their teams. Listen, when I was in Boston, and the heroin, as far as like the heroin, it was big in the 70s as far as, so I was doing my thing a lot, but independently, we'd have to go up by the Bronx Stadium, the old Bronx Stadium, to get our work. And back then we bring it home on the, back then you wasn't getting searched like that. So I remember the Boston to New York shuttle was like $40. And it was Eastern Airlines. You know what I'm saying? And then Trump bought it. Then it was a Trump shuttle. So we go get on the shuttle, go get our bricks from the Bronx, go to Harlem, get some weed, get some mixtapes, and come back to Boston. So, a lot of, man, I used to, a lot of my early years in Boston was hip hop and just, and selling dope. You know what I'm saying? I hooked up with a couple of YBI guys from up in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? And, they had things going big in Boston. So I got down with that. But a lot of my younger years was basically hustling, man. Selling drugs heavy. If it wasn't for my father, I was out there trying to do my thing. And I was with it's funny because I look back at my life now and I was like really connected with a lot of the big guys in Boston, and not even, because I don't, a lot of times people wear that shit, that's their life, but a lot of people don't even know that I was dealing with YBI in the 80s, or dealing with the Shower Posse from Jamaica, the late 80s, like, the mid 80s, So, these guys was real dudes, and I was, directly in with.
Talk about the Almighty RSO and the group that you guys formed, and a lot of people don't know you was one of the, obviously, you had, Schoolie D, Ice-T, but then you had you guys that were doing gangster rap early. Talk about the Almighty RSO.
Man, y'all see, I love it when, I'm a hip hop guy, so I get excited when y'all start talking that, especially old school. A lot of people don't know that Schoolie D was that gangster shit. And Steady B, Cool C, you know what I'm saying? They was on that gangster shit too in Philly. For real. Yeah. Whatever happened? Are they still locked down?
I'm not sure. Had to look into it.
Remember, they had got locked down for a bank robbery, man. I need y'all to check that out for me at some point, man. For real. Them niggas is real. But the RSO, so the RSO started in a section in Dorchester / Roxbury. It was like right on the line, Grove Hall and Four Corners. It was like right in the middle. So back then, when hip hop came, it was block parties and shit. So I was one of the first ones, do block parties in Boston. So I would go and, all the money I was getting from the streets, I would go get this crazy equipment. I ended up getting a 1200, a Technique 1200 when they first came out. I remember this is how old I am. When the 1200s first came out, it was a big thing because it was beltless and it still kept it speed enough for you to scratch on it. Like they made that turntable for scratching. It was heavy as hell because the only thing before that was belt-driven Geminis. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a turntable driven by a belt. See, my grandfather making stuff for turntables, and I knew everything about turntables. So Eddie had the Gemini joints, and he had a Gemini mixer. Then Newmark came out with a mixer that was made for 1200s. Came out with a turntable that was made for scratching. So I ended up getting the turntables, and I really was nice at it. The only thing about me with a DJ was I wasn't on a crossfade. I was using the Newmark I got was a turn. So I was like flip, flip, fly, flip, 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 fly, flip. So I would turn like this. I just wasn't good with this hand with it. So I really was a one-hand DJ, but I was still nice. Like I would, there was this old record called Fresh, Fly, Wild, and Bold by the Cold Crush Brothers. And then I would play that, and then I took runs on Sucker MCs. Fly like a dove, they come from up above, so I would take the fly. So when the Fresh, Fly, Wild, and Bold come on, it was this spot where they would rock, and then it was just an instrumental coming, and I was like flip, flip, fly, flip, 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 fly, flip, 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 fly, fly, fly. Like I was killing that shit. I would take the beat from Sucker MCs and take the first kick, and then the snare and go do that, do that, and then somebody could rap off it. Do that, do. Like I was nice. I was Rock, Shock, and Ray Dog. That was my name. So I formed the RSO because I would do battles with these DJs and shit at Four Corners. So me and I'd be dusting niggas. I was dusting niggas in Boston as a DJ. So me and Def Jeff was like Jeff. DJ Smalls was his name back then. He had a group called the PC Crew from Castlegate, and he was the best in the city and shit, So when Jeff came along, it was like he was doper than me. Like he beat me. So instead of me like, oh man, fuck that, I said, fuck it, let's just form. He had a couple MCs with him, Orange Man, Tony Rome. I had Kev Ski and MC Knox, and we all came together and formed the Almighty Rock Shit On crew. That's what RSO stood for. And we formed together as a group, and we battle everybody because that's what it was. We bring out the speakers, shit, you know what I'm saying? Jeff B. Rock and all the MCs come on, we would battle. And like we was fucking dudes up. I ain't gonna lie, like we never lost a battle. I mean, we was a big crew too, so you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Wasn't a lot of people was really scared of us, but the ones that did come out, I mean, it wasn't, there might have been words or whatever, but you know what I'm saying, battling wise, we was kicking niggas' asses. So we ended up putting our first, these guys, he was a named Walt Hilliard and Ron something. They were teachers, and they said, look, I want to make a record label. They had a record label called Boot Records, and we did our first, I think, we recorded our first song probably in '86, The Greatest Show on Earth. And my man Orange Man, who's doing Double Life now, was like so ahead of his time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this dude, like Orange Man, was one of the best. Like freestyles would just come off the top of your head. He was just killing it. It's like he never lost a battle rapping it. He was one of the best in Boston as far as just spitting off the top of the dome. And we all from the inner city, so of course there's that element of, you know what I'm saying, like by then, between my father, you know what I'm saying, his name in the streets, and then me getting my name in the streets, I was connected to all the niggas around Boston, all the top niggas. Back then it wasn't so much streets against streets and blocks against blocks. It was just whoever in that part of the hood was that nigga, the niggas knew. So it was top niggas in every hood and shit.
We're talking about when Almighty RSO, y'all got signed, and I believe your first single, we are
Greatest Show on Earth.
Yep. When that dropped, how did that hit Boston, and how were y'all received in Boston after y'all really dropped that joint?
Well, it was good. Like I said, it was good because Boston wasn't split up like it is now. Like, you know, it's hard now for rappers because the blocks, you know, are all against each other with real beef. Like, so there's no support. That's what people don't understand. The difference with now is that you could get support from your hood. You know, everybody kind of loved us, and then I'm sure there was some people that didn't, or some people that feared us. But you know, we was a big crew. You know what I'm saying? And as years went on, you know, some crew members would leave, and we would get other dudes, but we stayed the RSO. Like the core stayed the RSO. You know, and then with us doing block parties in different parts of the neighborhoods, like you could never do that now. Like, you know, I would set up in Roxbury, I would set up in Mattapan, I would set up all over the South End. Now you could never do that because everybody is all territorial now. I think after Colors dropped, the movie Colors, that's when Boston really started developing gangs, and everything was really about like street names. You know what I'm saying, with sports. So that's the colors they would have. It wouldn't be red and blue. It was like the Blazers or the Pirates or the Giants, you know what I'm saying? And they'd be wearing all that sport gear. So early, we was really like ahead of our time, man. We was rocking starter jackets, Gazelles. I mean, the leather pants. We was heavy on Adidas. You know, I ain't stopped wearing Adidas for 40 years. You know, I never even had a pair of Nikes or Jordans. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, back in the day, everything, like if you see a Boston, like everything is threes, you know what I'm saying? I got threes all over me. You know what I mean? Everything Hangman 3. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is, hold on.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Yeah.
I see that, yeah.
So everything was like threes. So that was from like the South Boston Irish gangsters. They was the first ones to wear Adidas in Boston, and we just picked up from that. You know, and now like Boston's a real Adidas city. The youngins is different. You know, of course they Jordans and Nikes, but back then, you know, a real Boston OG, if you see him with some Adidas on, you could tell a Boston nigga anywhere. So, you know, we started getting love in the city. We won the first Boston Music Award, whatever that was worth, as best rap group. You know, it was cool, you know, having the record out. We probably didn't get outside the city, but you know, we was doing shows all in the city and shit.
Right.
So,
Let's talk about, I think about 88. You know, you start to source. It starts off as a 1-page newsletter, and then you guys get moving. I think the first issue date was 1988, if I'm not mistaken. Talk about, you know, the idea with you and your partner to develop the Source newsletter that ultimately turned into a hip hop's magazine.
Well, I mean, that was so, to make one thing clear, you know, that was solely Dave Mays' idea. Like Dave, but the way that everything happened was it all happened in unison. Like the RSO, we never had a radio station in Boston. Like, and there's still no black radio station for the culture in Boston. Like you can go everywhere else and find a real, like, but like, you know, I don't want to disrespect Jam at 94.5 because they playing Coy's song, and big up to them. But the truth of the matter is Boston really doesn't want black people to rise up. They don't give people culture. Boston was more black back in the day when, just when you know Boston was like black, when George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic came to Franklin Park outside. That's, you know what I mean? Now James Brown, you know, now it ain't coming to the Garden and shit. Now Boston they took hip hop, and this is when we get on with the conversation, this is exactly why my situation with Eminem happened. It wasn't a personal thing. It was I seen how that the culture was about to be exploited. Meaning, and Boston's a good point to say that. Now, look, I don't want no white people to think that they shouldn't be involved with hip hop and none of that, because hip hop is what brought white and black people together. There's nothing else more that brought white and black people together than hip hop. And that's the great thing about hip hop. Not only did it kind of save our communities from the crack era and put monies in our pockets and put money in guys from the streets pockets that wouldn't have got it. It brought cultures together. And that's cool because, you know, hip hop is a black started thing, man, period. It came from, you know, people, you know, New York, granted. And, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a culture. It was a way of life. And it started to be a way of life that white kids wanted to be a part of. So you know, let's really like think about that. White kids wanted to live like us because and through hip hop. So that to me was a great thing. And being from Boston, where I could see racism, but I wasn't racist because the whole time I'm dealing with Italians and even Irish guys. Though it be from crime and making money, they still were great men to me. So how could I be racist when I judge a person by who they are and by the character they display. And that's how my father taught me. It was never being racist, but I do know that there's a racism of white people who don't fuck with black people at all. So when you see their kids fucking with us and they're not fucking with us, well, it's like, okay, well, goddamn, you know what I'm saying? All right, well, we got the kids now. Once they started seeing that, then they had to control it. And, you know, hip hop back then, you got to remember, there was people marching in the streets about gangster hip hop.
Yes, right.
And going against the lyrics. They wasn't playing that shit on radio.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it was so big. Imagine something so big that even without radio play, people from all over bought it. You know, I was a huge NWA fan. Like NWA influenced me greatly because you know we was doing gangster rap, but they was doing it on a whole different level because of the gangs. You know, people hadn't seen that before as far as gangs. You know, there was gangs in Chicago probably long before LA, but it wasn't. It wasn't at the time of hip hop where now everybody started seeing the culture through the lens of this rap group, and that's how big NWA was. So their influence was great on everybody, you know, just because of the Bloods and Crips situation at the time. With Boston, like I said, once the gang started breaking out, then that was it. You know, because in LA's big. Like you got beef with somebody, sometimes you're gonna have to travel miles to, you know. In Boston, you got beef with some Black Bostoners might be a 5 to 10 mile radius. And we was averaging maybe 130 murders a year in that 5 to 10 miles, maybe 120. Yeah, it was bad. If you got beef with somebody, you know where he lives at. So somebody's dying. Man, listen, I think almost it got to be 1 out of 3 guys in Boston been shot, and that's a big ass number. I mean, everybody got that tattoo they call it, you know, them stitches going down the stomach. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, everybody's been shot. You know, and like I could name over 100 dudes that's been killed in Boston.
Right.
You know, who I knew directly, friends, 100. You know, not like, okay, a couple of my guys, you know, I got 4 tatted on me, but I can definitely name over 100 that I know directly. And you know what I'm saying? Like it started getting to the point where I was going to so many wakes, I couldn't do it no more because I didn't want people, you know what I'm saying? Like I got tired of seeing people in that vision of laying there looking different. Like that shit started. I stopped. So, you know, Boston started getting crazy. A lot of people don't know, like, we was one of the first really East Coast cities to really get in that gang culture. And there's a lot of black hoods in Boston, a lot of black people in Boston. They just, the powers that be in Boston don't want that out because they don't want that picture of Boston fog, you know, because Boston's a white city. And it's old money, and they control it. So there's no black radio station up there. You know what I'm saying? Like in Philly, y'all probably got about 3 or 4. We don't got one. We don't have one. Because, you know, 94.5, these are hip hop is being run. Those are white people. It's different. It's just different. And, you know, and you hate to say these things because, oh, you're just racist. But no, because it's different. It is what it is.
Indeed. I want to fast forward a little bit through your time in the Source and working with Source Magazine and kind of go into the rivalry with the East Coast, West Coast. Now, before I get to the actual Source Awards, a lot of people blame the magazine articles and things like that, talking about what's going on between the East Coast and West Coast. They put a lot of responsibility on the reason why Biggie and Tupac are no longer here. Talk about the time at the Source when all of that was going on, and how do you feel about that now, looking back on it? Do you feel like magazines need to take a responsibility in what happened, or it was just at the time doing what magazines needed to do?
I think it's both. At that time, you know, the Source really was the internet for hip hop. The Source magazine was so important in people's lives that a lot of people don't even understand it. They probably take it for granted. But without the Source magazine, there wouldn't be, all the Vibes and XXLs came after.
Right.
Without the Source magazine, like, I'm saying, the culture would be different. We wouldn't know about each other.
Yeah.
Philly nigga necessarily wouldn't know about a Boston nigga. LA nigga wouldn't know about a Chicago. Like we would be so foreign to each other, And I think since hip hop came and then the magazine highlighted hip hop and highlighted all the hip hop from all over the globe, it just kind of brought people together, kind of like what the internet's doing now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It kind of puts us, the gift in the internet, it puts everybody on the same field so information can be shared and you know about more things quicker.
Yeah.
The Source was just that. We was just bringing the news to everybody. So when the West Coast and East Coast beef started, and see, when you look at the Source, it's music, politics, entertainment. Like it had nothing to do with gossip. It wasn't a gossip magazine. Hip Hop Weekly came later, and that was different format. But the Source magazine was never about that. We just reported what was going on in the world of hip hop, and that was a big thing at the time. That was the first big thing, and it was so big that like it was that big. You know what I'm saying? Sure. You could say that how you report. If you go in there, you're writing. I can say about the Source, they wasn't, like instigating one way. You know what I'm saying? Because the Source writers were, a lot of them was from all over the place. So, they were in New York. So of course, you think that they'd be, biggie, but you had to be partial. You couldn't be responsible like that. You know what I'm saying? So I think the way we handled it was good, to be honest, because it was happening. It had nothing to do with the Source. What was going on, and the Source was just reporting.
Right, and then they'll talk about the Source and the ultimate, demise. I heard you telling a story about that. When the .com era kind of came on, it kind of almost made the magazine obsolete, and you guys took out like a loan, and then you had to get rid of the business. So talk about when the .com era came and how it made that the hip hop magazine obsolete in a sense because everybody got the news before the magazine was published.
Well, my thing is when you look at it, like okay, so
lost it. Let's be back in a second.
Yeah, back in a second on the hip hop. It's moving around a lot over there on that joint, man.
There you go.
Is when you really look at it, it was like, oh shit, I can put little trees there to make it. All right. Now, when you look at it, the internet really messed us up in a couple of ways. At the time, in the '90s, the early '90s, Dave and a few guys, Steve Stout, H. Edward Young, they came up with the idea that that the computer world's coming, that the internet is coming, and they really first had the idea of let's put all the content and get advertising from the internet because it's the next big thing. And I remember they had mad meetings, and I never sat in one because I didn't know nothing about it. Me and Dave were partners from day one, and things that he knew, I let him fuck with and trust him. Things that I knew, Dave was more administrative. I was out here in the streets, and I think that's what was unique about the Source is that I was out here. I was a gangster nigga who was out here in the streets, pumped drugs all his life, connected to a lot of gangsters. Like I don't say that bragging about it. I barely talk about it. It's only until now because shit. You know what I'm saying? Like even the YBI shit I couldn't talk about, but my man Pep wrote his book. Shout out to Pep, and so now I can feel comfortable. Because a lot of these guys are going to jail now because they're getting on here and saying a lot of what, and they still don't understand that it can bite them. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful. So I always kind of kept a lot of this shit and didn't say nothing, especially back then. But I transitioned in life, and I got to get away from that. You know what I'm saying? God willing, that was a blessing. But at the time, they wanted to come up with. They had the idea to make Source.com. So when you look at it, they were brilliant because look what ended up happening. You know, but at that time I was like, I don't know nothing about that. So Dave kind of did that on his own. You know, they borrowed the $9 million from a bank at an 18% finance rate.
Mm.
You know, but at that time he was making about $1.5 million, $2 million a month. Well, not in the 90s. As years went on, we ended up really killing it. Right?
Yeah.
It was right before that time when the internet did work. But let me get back to that. So they invested in it all. They opened up a big ass office on Fifth Avenue. You know what the fucking rent is on Fifth Avenue?
Only imagine.
All right. So they're on Fifth Ave. So Dave's like, come on, man, we show you what's going on. So I didn't go up there until shit was actually up and running. So I finally went up there because I just was like, man, I don't even know what the fuck you're doing. I don't know about that shit, man. Internet, man, you're crazy. This is when the computers was big as hell.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like microwave ovens and shit. So he brought me up there and there was a room. And there was about big ass room with like 40 people in there behind these big microwave ovens and shit. And I was like, man, I still didn't see it. Mm. So it ended up crashing. The whole shit crashed. Mm. And the reason it did, because a lot of, if you do your homework, a lot of internet companies crashed back then. Because first of all, people didn't have computers. They was just ahead of their time.
Yeah.
They seen it coming. They see, a lot of people don't know in life, a lot of things depend on timing. You could have the greatest idea, you could have all the money, but if the timing ain't right, it's never gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and only God controls time. You know, it's the time, and nobody really, and it's up to you to know. It's up to you, but really, the way He puts these things in front of you, you always got to be on your A game, because it's the time. And trust me, if I can give any advice, it's time. And when you just got to be ready when that time comes. That's what you got to do. But yeah, it crashed, and then we ended up owning the bank. It ballooned up to like 30 million. So, you know, we had to start making money on the on other, you know, other than advertisement. Our advertising grew, like I said, to 25,000 a page. We were doing 80 pages a month. So do the math.
Whew. Yeah.
That was at our peak. You know what I'm saying? We did that for about 3-4 years. So like the money was coming in, like it was ridiculous. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it ended up crashing. So then, you know, the Source Awards came up with Source Hip Hop Hits. I did a deal with Russell directly, and I remember, you know, they offered us a couple $100,000, and this is where me and Dave, and people need to understand this. Dave was good at paperwork. He come from Harvard. I was good at the street game, where sometimes you might have to walk in a place and somebody pull a gun. You might have to bluff them and act like you got a gun.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do deals, it's kind of in that same premise. You can't just go. You can't let a motherfucker, like, you got to be able to hold your hand in poker and act like you got 4 aces. You can't just take, okay, all right, cool. Nah. You know, sometimes I might have 3 different suits of cards, a deuce of clubs, a 9 of diamonds, and hand be fucked up. But the fact that you know what I'm saying? The fact that I look like what I was having, you know what I'm saying? You got to wear it.
Right.
So for a while, I'm like, nah, Dave, we can get more. We get more. Now we gotta take this when we need the money. You know, it's like $500,000. And I was and it was the idea that all the top dudes on the Source cover, let's do a compilation. And remember, there's these now compilations. This was before them. We did that. Man, I got the call from Russell Simmons after 2 weeks of me turning down these deals. He was at the Chicago Bull game, and this is like my hero at the time.
Right.
Russell was like my hero. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't believe it. I'm talking to Russell Simmons, man. They ended up giving us $4.5 million the next day.
Damn.
They said the bike courier, you know, she came up with the backpack, took that check out. I opened that motherfucking Dave's office. It was like $4.5 million, baby.
Now, didn't that was that the deal that kind of broke you guys? Like you had to kind of start back at square one.
No. Everything was going up. You know, even though we owed the bank, we was paying them because we had to pay them like $700,000 every couple months. But you know, the Source Awards wasn't a moneymaker until the very last one with BET. Like we sacrificed so much building the Source Awards up. We never made profit until the very last one. So, but the Source Hip Hop Hits was, come on, we just got a quick $5 million. The ads are going crazy. I got a $500,000 deal from Motown. I got a $700,000 deal from Epic with Rock the Party. Like money's coming in like crazy, say from the years of 99 to 04, maybe. And that's when it was like, we paying the bank. And then at that time, I'm just wilding all across the country, man. I'm traveling about 10, 15 niggas. We staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I'm probably in a suite that costs $2,500 a night, and I'm in this bitch for like 2 months.
Damn.
And I'm doing so much drugs, and I'm fucking like so many women, and it was chaos, man. Like it was just madness. Like we were just getting money, it was just coming anywhere, and I just was like, I didn't have any like. I don't know, man. It was a weird feeling to say, but I didn't have no filter. Then I'm everything, all my friends and family, I'm just thousands and thousands of dollars just giving it away, man. I just felt like it was never gonna end. You know what I'm saying? I never had an office in the Source because I was always in the streets. You know what I'm saying? I never ever had an office in 18 years with the Source. I never had an office. So, I was just doing crazy shit, man, because I never worked a job, and I didn't have no sense of what if you don't have any more money, because I always was a hustler. I'd always get out there and get it, so I could spend my last, because I enjoy getting up the next day in the streets and going to get it. But this was different. It was so much money coming in that it was just wild, and I was getting arrested all over the place, wild and beefing and shit. It was just like I lost the sense of who I was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had discipline in Boston when I was in the streets, but with the Source, it was just so much shit going on. And then, we ended up getting this major investigated by the feds that for like 2 weeks that fucked my life up. You know what I'm saying? And I still was wild. So, then ended up beefing with Eminem, and Jimmy pulled all the advertisement. And it was just a time where everything started going crazy. But the time when it was right, when I say it was right, I think at one point, I definitely had more money than Jay and Diddy at the time. If there was a Forbes back then Benzino would have been top of that motherfucker. Because, it was ridiculous. I didn't even know how much money I had.
Now, did the beef with you and Eminem, did that start because of the Source magazine, for you giving him like 4 out of 5 mics?
I just, you know what I'm saying? I just was like, I just was like, the Source loved him, and they was giving him 4.5 mics, and I just was like, hold up, you know what I'm saying? Are you doing this because he's the white kid? Like if that's the case, then Cannabis should be getting 4.5 mics. Or are you doing this because he's white? Like which was this? And a lot of the staff was, they was a major Eminem fan. I'm like, man, fuck that. I'm like, we never did this before where we're gonna start going this route. Like, he's nice, but again, is he nice because he's white, or is it because the type of music? I mean, granted, when he came out with the shit with Dre, that probably definitely did deserve, because I never was the mic guy anyways, but you know what I'm saying? I could say this now because of how I think I grew up and how, white people took advantage. I probably was a little salty that he was white and he was just coming in. I can admit that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know what I mean? And was it right? Well, maybe not. You know what I'm saying? But I had to go for what I thought was in my heart. And I never made too many decisions to be like, yo, don't give him. I never got in the mic arguments or in the mic things. I never was in the back rooms. They would go in back rooms and do the mics. There's only a couple of times I had to insert my power to let the staff know, look, sometimes, you know what I'm saying, when you're trying to balance, first of all, you're trying to balance selling ads by labels who are paying you thousands of dollars a year, thousands upon thousands. You can't give their artists 2.5, 3 mics. So it started, it started 2.5 mics. You can't do that, even if you don't like the album. So really, that's when I started seeing this integrity thing about the mics, when people don't understand you can't give bad ratings to somebody who's paying you thousands of dollars. And they understood. But now, back in the day, you could have had integrity because nobody was spending that much money. But now it's like you got to walk a fine line with that shit. So that mic shit, listen, man, if I like something, I like something. I don't need for the world to like it. one of the things that make us individual on earth is our ability to like what we like and not give a fuck what anybody else thinks. That's what makes you an individual. I think when you start listening to people, okay, he said it's 4 mics, so now I'm gonna go buy it. I think that's ridiculous. And I'm saying that now when really the source that was the whole premise of the source was the mic system. But I wasn't a big believer or a supporter, and I kept that to myself because I always felt like whatever one likes, one likes. But artists really was really into those mics, and I noticed that later on. You know, I got approached by a couple of dudes like, yo, man, I was like, my brother, I had nothing to do with them. Saying I had not one thing to do with the mics. You know what I mean? Like there were things I had to do with, but I gave, and Dave gave them the freedom as the staff to pick on it. You know, that was their big thing to do, so let them do that. Give them that. They work hard. So that was the mic system. The Eminem thing came, and it was more of a personal thing of how I grew up and how, you know what I'm saying, I seen things. And then to be honest, what I said was right. A lot of shit I was talking about the machine and everything, it was right. You know, because Eminem was getting like, MTV was giving him like shit that they would never give no black artists and let him do, you know what I mean? It just wasn't fair. So I just was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I had the power to say something and I did. You know, I didn't have to answer to nobody. You know, you gotta realize, even Russell Simmons back in the day had to answer to somebody. Mm-hmm. I did it. You know what I'm saying?
Good shit.
And you know, I spoke what was on my mind. I actually spoke for hip hop. I spoke for the culture, and I spoke as far as towards racism. Meaning, look, you know, you don't single out this guy and give him special treatment because he's white, because that's not fair. So a lot of that had to do with that.
Let me ask you that though. Do you think that's the reason why it almost, I don't want to say backfired, but it seems like now, if you look at it through the annals of history, or anybody who's asked a question between the Eminem and Benzino beef, Eminem destroyed Benzino. Eminem did this. He shut him down.
Yeah, I don't take it like that. I swear to God, even in the rhymes. You know why? You know, I'm gonna keep it 100. Mm-hmm. See, Eminem is a white kid. Eminem's never ever experienced my struggle and the way I grew up. Mm. Not even a little bit of it. Okay, so anything he says is joking. You so crack, all that. Drug dealers, shot niggas, been shot, all that. Mm. Everything else, what every other nigga goes through, shit that you don't go through, shit that you know nothing about, but you still want to be a part of this culture. And you know what I'm saying? Nah. Eminem fooled everybody. He got through. They got him through because you know they brought him up around these dudes. You know, he's from Detroit, and he's not from Detroit. He's from one of the blackest, dopest cities in America, street-wise and music-wise. He's from there. He's not from there. They planted a perception of him and ran with it. And you know, I was a little glitch in the matrix. Don't think that what I did didn't glitch shit up, or I glitched it. But you know, it's bigger than him destroying me because I'm still here looking better than ever. You know what I'm saying? And I'll beat his ass. You know what I'm saying? Man to man. So you can't destroy somebody that's still here, still relevant in his culture, and still talk that shit without being face to face with me, without 12 bodyguards.
Right.
And like that's how our culture works. Now maybe you didn't know that because you know they got you thinking different. But our culture works. When you destroy somebody, then that person never comes out, and you the big dog. And nah, hell no. I'm out here feeling, looking better than ever. You know what I'm saying? And actually happier than ever.
Good. Right.
I'm happy with who I see in the mirror. I stand up for things, and it's not always about money. I did that. When people be like, oh, you lost everything. Nah, I didn't lose nothing. I lived it. You don't lose money. When you're here for a period of time. In that period of time, it's up to you to get the most money you can. And you're not gauged by this moment or that moment. You're gauged by your life. The things I've done, man, I could talk about shit I've done that will blow your fucking mind.
Right.
I mean, the stories that I got, which I'm going to hold for the book, that'll blow your mind.
Everybody hold shit for the book.
I have millions and millions and millions of dollars. And the things that I did, the crazy shit. Think of Wolf of Wall Street, but way crazier. I mean, you know, women, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've dated a lot of celebrity women, actresses, rappers, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's all coming in the book, you know what I'm saying? a lot of your rappers' wives.
Beyonce? No.
Rappers' wives.
Beyonce? Nah.
Nah, you know what? I'm not even gonna say nothing. All I'm gonna do is wait for the book.
Let me ask you this though. Let me ask you about.
I'm gonna tell you, the Zista was that nigga at one time, man. And when I say that, I mean it within the industry, because you know I never was an industry nigga. I'm a Boston street nigga. Like that industry shit, I don't. You know what I'm saying? But there's the industry still gauges who it was, and at one point I was that guy. I still was the mysterious guy. Who is he? What? Where is he? What? You know, but when the federal, see, everything, it kind of happened at once. The Eminem beef, the federal investigation, you know, us owing the bank more, like everything all happened at once, and that was kind of like the demise of the source.
Right. So talk about 50 Cent, because you had issues with 50 Cent.
Nah. Let me tell you. So 50, at this point, I'm in New York. We with the Made Men, and we recorded. 50. There was on 54th Street was the Hit Factory and Sony Studios. All the big artists would be recording it. They ain't there no more. So Ja was up. I didn't even know Ja this time. He was up at 54th Street recording. We was down there at Sony recording our album. So I'm chilling downstairs in the hip hop room. Come on, Tommy, what's going on? I'm chilling downstairs in the hip hop room. They call it the hip hop room and shit because they got like this ill spot where you could play video games. It was like in a spaceship.
Right.
That it was crazy. So I'm down there, and Cool Jesus at the time brings in this dude. So, you know, I was fucking with the track masters at the time. They was the ones that really blew up 50 on that first shit. You know what I'm saying? Tony poking them. So he had at that time he brought him in, and 50 Cent just been stabbed and shit.
Put your phone up a little bit more, brother.
He told me what happened, how homie.
We can't see your face. Sorry about that.
Yeah, he told me what happened, how his man dropped the gun, or the gun didn't have no bullets in it. Was beefing with them niggas. I was like, oh man. So I'm looking at this nigga like, okay, you know what I'm saying? All right, boom. You know, he fuck with Tone poking him, and I had heard his mixtapes and shit. Everything was cool. So I called him car service, and the car service, because you know the Source had a car service.
Okay.
Called Atlantic Car Service, and I called him a car service and just got him to the hospital. And then later on, when the Eminem beef happened, you know, shit, he's getting millions of dollars now. He can't go against him. I didn't hold that against him, you know, but it wasn't no beef with him. You know, it wasn't no. See, beef is different, man. Beef is like niggas die in beef. Rap beef is something you have to put rap beef in front of it when you say it. You know what I'm saying? Because rap beef is different from beef. How I came up, how I still look at it.
Right.
So this wasn't. I didn't take this as something life-threatening. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't worried about nothing and nobody. You know what I'm saying? Her and Z. I just, you know, I wasn't the greatest rapper, but I had to put what I was saying in the raps in order for it to be heard. So how I felt about Eminem, I had to put it in a rap. And that's when I put Pull Your Skirt Up. Star from Buck Wild was on Hot 97 and kept playing it over and over and over. And that was crazy because, you know, Jimmy's paying Hot 97 a whole bunch of money. At this time, Jimmy owned 60% of hip hop. Okay. Dre, 50, this, he had everybody. So, you know, he was giving us a lot of advertising dollars. And he just signed my son, Ray Ray, who raps. You know, y'all know my daughter rapping. Shout out to Coi Leray.
Yeah.
She starts her first tour today in Boston. Imagine that. Shit is just, anyways. Yeah, you know, he signed Ray Ray and them to a big ass deal, $800,000 deal, 3 down. His baby pun, Ray Ray. Ray Ray was about 9 years old, and Lil James, a singer out of Boston. So I got them a deal, got them a bunch of money. They did. Betty Boom recorded the video. We did the Bronx Tale Over. I was Robert De Niro. We had the same bus from the Bronx Tale. It was dope. Spent like a couple $100,000 on the video. Like Jimmy loved the group, and you know, when the Eminem beef happened, all that shit fell apart.
Right. I was a rumor that you witnessed 50 Cent get to a fight with Ja Rule. Is that true?
Say again?
It was a rumor that you witnessed 50 Cent getting into a fight with Ja Rule. No.
I don't know. Let me tell you, like Ja be deep with niggas.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it ain't no one-on-ones, man. You feel me? Yeah, like it is what it is, man. Ain't no one-on-ones. Ain't nobody gonna sit there and just let niggas steal your man without trying. Niggas is gonna try to jump on him. And if he got a bunch of niggas, then it's gonna be a war.
Yeah.
Right there. And you know what I'm saying? The best man live. Like it ain't one-on-ones anymore. If you walk in a spot with 11 niggas and they come over there and steal you, what gonna happen to that nigga?
You'll get stomped the
fuck out. Ain't no fights. You know what I'm saying?
But did he get stomped out or what? Did 50 get stomped out by Ja Rule? His crew?
I wasn't there with that, but I heard. You know, look. I'm saying he got out of the hit factory. You see what happened, but they tried to doink him up.
Right.
I mean, he got doinked up. You know what I'm saying? His man had the gun. There was no bullets in the gun.
Damn.
So, you know, he's really lucky that he got out of there alive. They deep as fuck in the studio.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't even know the mindset of something like that. Unless you going in there to blam up a nigga.
Right.
If you know niggas is deep as fuck, what's the mindset of you going in there? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I didn't know Ja, and I didn't know 50, and that wasn't my beef. It could have been one of y'all niggas down there, and y'all came down there. Yo, this is so and so. I be you good, my nigga? You know what I'm saying? Like I was able to get him a ride. That's what I was able to do. I would have did that for anybody. Now later on, me and Ja got cool, and our kids grew up together and everything. But you know, and then he was beefing with 50. The crazy shit was my Eminem shit happened the same time as him beefing with 50. I moved next door to him. We become good friends, and it make it look like we together against them.
Right.
So that's you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And at that time was our last days in the Source. So we ended up just giving Ja the cover, just giving Irv Garvey the cover. You know what I mean? Because we knew that we only our days were numbered.
Talk about life after the Source. How was it after the Source for you?
Oh, man, well, just not after the Source. It was after I got indicted. I was about to go to jail. They was about to hit me with the shit that they hit with Casanova. Now that's they was trying to hit me with. You know,
Really?
There was bodies in Boston. Fucking, they tried me with extortion, 2 counts of money laundering. I mean, all kind of shit. Like they told me to cop out to 25. Went to my mother's house and told her to tell me to cop out to 25. Like they had been investigators for over a year and a half. They interviewed over 160 people. There was dudes up in Otisville in a penitentiary saying they was dragging niggas up out of their interview. They interviewed the whole Source staff, people from Boston, people from New York. They was trying to get anything. They just couldn't connect the dots. You know, and because that, thank God that investigation broke down because it was wasting too much money, and they couldn't get a conviction. That because of that, I would never be able to tell who said what, because there was somebody that said something.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, I'll never be able to see those papers.
Right.
But I ended up getting indicted for tax evasion, and then I took it to trial because I just at that time it was Ray and Coi. Taj wasn't born yet. And I was like, damn, man, I want to at least be able to spend some more time for it, because they offered me 5. They said if I took it to trial, they offered me 3. If I took it to trial, I'd get 5. So I was like, fuck it.
Fuck it, yeah.
Yeah. I said, fuck it, I'm going to fight it. So any little monies I had left, and this again was towards the end of everything.
Right.
Thing when the well was drying up, you know what I'm saying? I had a couple of $1 million in jewelry I ended up getting rid of for lawyer, because we were spending millions of dollars on lawyers. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up beating the fucking tax case, man. Like that was, like I could not believe it. Like, you know, I had an all-white jury. Because when you pick a jury in Boston, they're like, does anybody in this jury pool know Ray Dog, Source Magazine, Benzino? Man, everybody who's black and Spanish is putting their hands up.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had an all-white. I was like, man,
damn.
I'm Peking Duck right now.
For real.
It's over. I didn't even want nobody to come to court when I was on trial, man. So they had the Dave hired this dude accountant up there, and named George Moore. This motherfucker wore a wire for 8 months, and he was the one supposed to do my taxes. He wore a wire and shit. So, but when he came to testify, you know what I'm saying, I still got my braids and shit. Cause I was like, fuck that, I ain't cutting my braids off. Like, if I'm going to jail, I'm not, you know, because, you know, my lawyer was like, look, we want you to get a low cut. Nah. I went respectfully, because the judge was a female judge. A female federal judge is one of the most, intimidating humans on earth. Honestly, a female federal, United States federal judge, their face will intimidate a fucking serial killer, yo. Nah, man, she had no play all over her fucking face. I mean, you could only respect it, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you understood the power she had. They had just built this fucking courtroom, spent millions of dollars in Boston, built it on Boston Harbor. Like, each judge has their own room. Marble floors and pillars and shit. I'm like, ain't nobody in that motherfucker.
Right.
The last time I went in there, they were giving my man, was a Cape Verdean dude, man. They gave him 25, man. Family in there crying and shit. I said, oh my God. So I didn't even want nobody to come to the trial. So I went by myself. I had a dope lawyer, Jewish guy, Leonard Sands. He's still doing his thing. Older guy, real older guy. And you know, he from Florida. So man, me and him, boy, we going back and forth. And I basically told him, look, I said, George, I didn't know nothing from a W1 to a W9. All I knew was just swipe this American Express Platinum and take money out the bank. I didn't know too much about even paying back. For 20 years, I didn't even pay my own bills. About 15 years. Everything was handled by the source, by Dave. I just was running through money. But I didn't know the business of money, because it was coming so quick that I just didn't. It just was coming too fast for me. So I really didn't know nothing about taxes. And I said, that's what the fuck he's there for. We giving him $200,000. He was a white guy out of Jersey. And I remember I used to go up to the source. Now, mind you, I never had an office. So there's a business side of the source and there's a journalistic side. Big ass office, about 60 people. And the business would be over here on Dave's side. Not as many people and shit. Real quiet business over there. It's, you know, it's Animal House over there and shit. But that's how the source was. And so George would come over. Hey, Ray, you know we got to do taxes. And I'm like, George. And I remember saying this. And see, I remember I seen The Wire. I just didn't think. It was a fucking badge. He had this badge, right, with like serial numbers on it. I'm thinking maybe that's what all, because I looked at it. Right. Maybe that's what all accountants wear. Like, I'm thinking that's an accountant thing.
Right.
Because in my mind, what the fuck is he wearing this badge every day for? On Mary Scott, I thought that a couple of times. I was like, what the? Because see, me, that's one thing why I lasted out here, God willing, is because I didn't talk around people, and if I didn't know you, I wasn't fucking with you.
That's right.
And you couldn't talk certain things to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know, like I you know, all my years, and I credit this to my father. I learned how to maneuver the right way, because you just can't get me. And he was trying to get me. It ended up because, see, I got those papers. You know, every time I'd be on tour, he would call, Ray, we got to do these taxes and that. I'd hang up on his ass. When I hang up in the papers, you'd see, damn, this motherfucker hung up on me again. Like, say motherfucker and shit. I was like, I couldn't believe it. When they sat there and they asked him, my lawyer asked him, why did you do it? Because we never had a beef. Right. He was just jealous of me. I seen it. He's this middle-aged white guy, married, probably get no pussy. I'm coming up there, there's females, there's everything, Benzino and jewelry and pulling up in Bentleys, man. Me and Dave are walking in Manhattan on the showroom and driving out with Bentleys off the showroom floor, lifting the thing up. Small ass place. Man, it was telling you, trust me, it was crazy. So I'm sure he's seen that, was like, man, fucking nigga. You know what I'm saying? So he said the feds approached him, met him in Dunkin' Donuts, and he said, fuck it, he'll do it. Wow. That he thought it would be adventurous or something. I don't know what the fuck he said. I was like, they think this a bitch. So, hey, look, all 12 juries said not guilty in 2 hours, all white. I almost passed out. I couldn't believe it, because nobody beats a federal tax case. Al Capone didn't beat it. They got a 98% conviction rate, and I fucking beat that shit. That shit is... I went tattooed not guilty right here, because that shit it blew my mind, man. The United States government against Raymond Scott, and I won. So Irvin and one too. It was the same thing. Yeah. But let me tell you what happened with the feds real quick. They just didn't know how much money we was making legally. They knew if black people was involved and I involved, drugs had to be getting laundered.
Right.
It wasn't true. I left the game at that point. I didn't need to. I didn't need no more street money.
It's a fact. It millions in Minnesota.
I was getting so much money from the source, and like I said, I was getting $500,000, $700,000 deals from you know what I'm saying, like later on. My last 2 solo albums. I made some money from that shit.
Word.
That's what's up, man. How's your relationship with your daughter now, man? And how rewarding is it to see her, you know, taking off of being one of the biggest artists in the game right now?
First of all, you know, that's, you know, I've tattooed right there, Coi. That's my princess. That's my baby.
Right.
And, you know, seeing her now is mind blowing, bro. It's real. I still don't believe it.
Right.
I still can't, because there was at a time where she told me she was going to do this. And like, she said it. It was just like, she just kept saying that shit. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't like I didn't believe her, but you know what I'm saying? I just was, you know, I think what people don't understand is that me and Coi's relationship, and it has to do with her mom's relationship. It's not like me and Coi, you know. And me and her mom couldn't see eye to eye after we broke up. So a lot of that plays a part. People would understand, you know, Coi loves her mother. That's when we broke up. I mean, she's lived with me a couple of times. I don't want, you know, if I get too much into the story, I'm gonna I don't want to discredit her point, because we are trying to patch it up. You know, we've been texting each other, and she actually called me, FaceTime me early this morning, and I missed it.
Right. Okay.
You know, how can I say it? All I can say is that I love Coi dearly. There was never a time where I thought that she didn't love me. There was never a time that I thought that anything that I've done was detrimental. Like, I've never could fathom that. I've always was big on my kids, all my kids. I always make sure I've been in their life. I always make sure that I provided for them. You know, a street guy can't be there 24/7 like the mom can, because the street guy's out here trying to get money, which is the man, period.
Understood. Yeah.
Coi's mom didn't have to work in those years. In those years where I was in the streets and those years in the source. So I got to go get the money. So if you know, of course, mom is going to be around you physically more, but even when, and this is probably how much I'm gonna go into, because again, I don't want to discredit Coi. I think the stuff that was said, and even on a song, how can I put it? That was her feelings. Respect her. You know, I have feelings, and I have a different scenario, but that's okay, because I can't discredit the way she feels. I have to respect it, and I have to fix it. You know, and her being on this tour, the first date in Boston, is just mind blowing.
Yes, sir.
It's mind blowing. Sold out, like, bro, like,
wow.
Come on, man, like, this is my baby girl. This is like, you know, Ray touched some success, and he's doing, man. If you go on his page, I want you to go on his page. It's Chavo, Chavo. Like, Chavo has been making a lot of money streaming his own stuff, and I'm proud of him. And like I said, he was the one that Jimmy signed. So I've had 2 kids on major deals, you know, by, of course, 2 different, you know, mothers. So, you know, it's not, you know, they both grew up in hip hop and studios all their life. That's all I've been doing other than the street. So it's in them. And to see her get as far as she is, it just was a testament to her, because she knew it, and she said it, and she did it. Ray's a little more laid back. Coi's like, nah, fuck that. And when you see that from your daughter, you're just not used to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, some of her music and stuff is like, well, it's not that I'll support it, but how can I post it? Because I'm your father.
Right.
And it's just, yeah. Like, you know, it's just crazy. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Most of my following are older. So I'm posting stuff you talking about crazy shit, then they're not going to support it because of them of the age difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not that I don't want to, and I'm that father that understands. Like I'm into the young shit. I love Pooh Shiesty music. I love A Boogie. I love these young guys out here. You know what I'm saying? I listen to their shit.
Mm-hmm.
But coming from your daughter is just, and
yeah, bro.
It's hard. I don't know how other fathers feel, but I'm in a very unique situation. I can say that, but it doesn't take away the immense love I have for her, and I'll always be there for her safety. All she got to do is call. You know what I'm saying? But I would think that her being Benzino's daughter gets her through situations a little easier than most. So,
I was going to ask you, do you think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Is it a double-edged sword? Because as a father, like I can only imagine, you've been in the game, like you said, you've seen the highest of the highs and lowest of the lows, and any real father just wants to protect their kids, and you want what's best for them. And obviously, she's out here achieving her dream. And on one side, you have to be ultra proud of that, but on the other side, you understand the monster that she's currently going into.
Man, you could have said it better in this tour. This tour is going to be a dangerous tour.
Yeah.
So I would like to be there, secure, because I know, security, big up to security, but ain't nobody going to protect them more than me.
Word.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what, I'm loved all around this world. Around these hoods. I look at the hoods of the world and shit. Yeah, people fuck with me, man. I go through any major hood, and from the grandmothers to the mothers to the auntie to the sister to the real niggas. What up, Zeno? Oh, Zeno, man. Oh, come on, take this pic. What up? This is every day, all day, every day, all day, every day, all day.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not like, people going to love it. I just hope that we can really kind of come together stronger, because I think people want to see that.
No, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? Because, shit. It ain't like her father's just nobody out here. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Definitely. But we're going to respect the time, man. Of the interview, we definitely appreciate you. Benzino on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. Go ahead.
I fuck with y'all, man. Y'all call me anytime, man. And
yes, sir.
I'm a kid. Hey, I got a restaurant, Benzino's Crab Trap. When y'all in Atlanta, y'all come through. Y'all never have to pay on me.
Where's it located?
It's in Chambly, man. We do the grand opening in a couple of weeks. It's gonna be dope, man. This is, I've had different ones, but this is the biggest one I've got yet. 3,500 square feet. We have a full bar. Like, we're really, really, shout out to my partners Sack and Low. Man, we're really excited, man. So,
Now, I was also real quick. You talked about the BET Awards. You talked about Little Nas X, but you talked about the possibility, if you had an investor, of doing the Source Awards again. Where's that at?
First of all, the people the Source has new owners, so we would have to come to an agreement to get me back involved. And then, I think that me and Dave, I think people don't understand, doing the Source Awards can't everybody do.
Mm-hmm.
The Hollywood people can't do it. The people, you got to have your real street savvy, because these are street guys coming in with their guys. Right. So I think me and Dave, we built that formula, and I think that we could come up with a show that everybody would love. You know what I'm saying? But ego has to get put down. The new owners of the Source would have to be like, because everything is, he's bad, man. And then, the world don't think that. See, I was blacklisted before with the industry. Now I've got my weight up without head. Now, like, they fuck with me so much that no one can blacklist me no more.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's easy for them to try to paint a picture. The people that control things, to control a narrative and hurt you, they can't do that no more.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, I'm looking to get back on Love and Hip Hop this coming season. I've been talking with VH1. Get back on that again, and, man, get back on TV, do this restaurant thing. I'm going to put out some new music. And, man, just keep living my life. I want to shout out to my other two boys, too. World War Taj, he's the rapper coming out. That's Coi's little brother. And, of course, my little chef Zeno. So I love all my kids. Ray, Coi. I got them all tatted on me. That'll never change. Taj, Zeno. Let's go. Hip Hop Uncensored.
You already know, man.
Yes,
you gave us an invite to your restaurant, man. And we want to give you an invite when you're out in the New Jersey area to our brand new studio that we got the grand opening this weekend, man.
I'm coming.
Come through,
matter
man.
of fact, I'll be in New York next month. At the beginning of next month, I'm coming through.
hit us up, man. Let's see what we can do getting you down here, bro. On us. Let's get you down here, bro.
Nothing but love and respect, man. And I appreciate y'all are dope.
Yes, sir, bro. All right, take it easy. Peace.